Hey guys, welcome to another video for the first time in quite some time. What with this video being just generally very overdue on this channel. I haven't uploaded here in quite some months and well, there's just a whole slew of reasons for that. I must apologise actually for the not so great quality of the camera and mic on here, but unfortunately I don't have much better at the moment available to me. But, I mean, this isn't too bad for, speaking to people over things like Google Hangouts and, Omegle, but for recording a video, it, of course, isn't the best, and as you can tell from the sound and video quality, it could be better, so I do apologise for that. Today, I just kind of wanted to just quickly ramble and rant, if one will, about a particular topic that's been hanging in my head for quite a while, and that's the issue of people refusing to acknowledge other people's political and sort of social views when having debates with them. Now, this isn't a argument of mine to say that we should all agree on the same things in the same way. We shouldn't, we don't even necessarily have to fully respect each other's views, but we have to acknowledge that everyone has different political and social views to one another. I mean, if we all had the same views, the world wouldn't be the way it is today. We wouldn't have the same sort of political ideologies and developments we had today. And I would argue that we probably wouldn't have the same sense of legitimised political sort of freedom of opposition and a right to freedom of speech in a lot of modern global economic democracies. I mean, if there was no agreeance to disagree, I don't think there would be any basis for free speech, because if you just disagree to agree or disagree to, acknowledge any sort of semblance of opposition to your viewpoint, from your perspective, then there's only your viewpoint as being even marginally right or as existing in a at all tangible sense, and I don't think that's practical for either a personal viewpoint of the world or for political assessments of the world around us. I think if we want to grow as individual people, we have to look at the world as a world not of black and white, not of white or black, but of many shades of many different colours, and that's the way that politics is. If I had looked at myself back in the start of my undergraduate university degree, I would have seen myself as being much more far leaning to the left than I am now. And that isn't to say I necessarily dislike myself back then, looking back at it now, for the politics I had at the time, nor do I with people who have those similar politics today, or anyone who is necessarily an extreme on either side of the political spectrum. I personally don't agree with extremist sort of viewpoints, but at the same time, if someone were to propose to me that they would like to discuss our differing political viewpoints in a debate, and they, say for example, had very considerably hard left-wing views, I'd want to talk it out with them. The only sort of circumstance in which I would say that I don't want to talk with someone, of course, would be if they wanted to use their views as a viewpoint or as a standing off point to bash me over the head physically and try and reduce my freedom of speech. I've gone into this in a couple of videos in the past, and I think it is sort of worth here to repeat it again. But I think everyone should have the right to freedom of speech, regardless of what their political or sociological views are, regardless of whichever side of the political spectrum they're on, or sociological spectrum, be it may, unless they are trying to use those views to limit the freedoms of other people and inhibit the capability to express their views to the same level that that person is doing so. And I think a really big problem of people not really fully appreciating or trying to help support the freedom of speech that helps sustain their own political views or their right to hold those political views in an open manner is this refusal that's popped up in, I'd say the last 10 or 11, maybe 12 years of just refusing to acknowledge the legitimacy or presence of different political views. Throughout studying my undergraduate degree, much less so on the history side of it, but definitely on the politics side of it, I spoke sometimes to people who would just refuse to agree that there was any legitimacy in this opposing argument on the opposite side of the debate that they were having at a certain given time. And as much as I could sort of try and look into why they had these views and why they felt this way about the opposing side in the argument, I would always try, at least from, say, about early-ish into my second year of undergraduate studies, to say to them, like, look, can't we just, agree to disagree and say that while we might not like these political views or these views that you are in opposition to, that at the end of the day, they are someone else's views, and in their eyes, they may just have as much legitimacy to those views as you do to yours. And sometimes you would get people saying, okay, fair enough, I'll try and calm down and let's have a reasonable discussion. But a lot of the time, I did feel like people were sort of just out of their way to just prove that their viewpoint was in the right and in the right alone. And the more you push yourself into that thought process and that general sort of area of thinking, regardless of whether you're on the left, right of the political spectrum, the more you do to inhibit the freedom of speech that grants you the freedom to express those very political opinions that you have. And ultimately, that is, in the long run, not just a hindrance for the opposing side of your argument, but the one that you purport to stand up for as well. And in the end, it will just hurt everyone in terms of how they can express themselves, whether it be in politics or sociology, or hell, possibly even anything else, from films to TV to literature to music, be it anything that people have debates on. So I guess I'm kind of just making this to just kind of implore people to kind of understand that while they might have these views that they are seeing that they disagree with strongly and might even feel repulsed by, as I sometimes do with certain political views, depending on which kind of stance they take on a certain subject and how they might be projected from the person who's holding them, the best thing to do is to acknowledge that they're there, but not to try and just immediately shut down. Try and look into what these views are. Really think about them, research them a bit, and then think, why is this person thinking these views? Then, if it does turn out that they are actually imploring or going about the activity of limiting other people's views without due cause and without legitimate concerns, then they're not standing up for a righteous cause or a righteous point of speech. But otherwise, which I would say is most of the time, they're probably just going to be expressing their views, and maybe in a way that you might just find very disagreeable. And realistically, that's no reason to just completely block them out. You've got to understand their personal views in order to defeat them in your eyes. I mean, admittedly, when you find someone of an opposing view, you might not always defeat them in a political debate, or a sociological one, or an economic one, or whichever subject as it may be, but it at least gives you a better chance to constructing a better formed argument and just having a more calmer and civilized debate. I understand not everyone wants to have a civilized and calm debate, but if I'm going to be honest, I'd rather people would, because it's much more constructive towards a political landscape to have these kind of debates in a constructive way where we're all trying to understand each other's views. And if we do that, we not just enrich, the freedom of speech and our own political views and the political landscape of debating and possibly even policy making, but we also benefit the other people who might not also be so interested in politics, as well as those who are thinking of looking into politics or being interested in it. The more we stray away from the idea, I think, of acknowledging that there are differing political views and that we might not always agree with them, and straying away from the idea that they are just completely in the wrong and they shouldn't be accepted verbatim without looking into what they are, or how they're presented, or who is saying them, the more we not just harm that side of the debate, but also our own, and also the general landscape of which we use to project our political views and discuss them on. At this point, I'm kind of rambling and repeating myself, so I do apologise for that. And again, I apologise for the lacklustre video and audio quality. I kind of just wanted to just make this as a rambling train of thought, just to get things off my chest that have been laying on there for quite some time. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did like it, or at the very least find it helpful and informative in some way, totally screwed that. Be sure to leave a like, comment, share and subscribe. And if you want to show any extra support, be sure to check out my other YouTube channels and my social medias and all that in the video description below. I will hopefully try and get into the habit of doing more edited videos on this channel, and I'll do my best to do that more in the future. I'm also going to be trying to upload a bit more frequently on my gaming channel in the future as well, so keep an eye out on that if you're into that sort of thing, and I'm not going to force anyone. You all do your own thing. But anyway, until next time, I hope you guys have enjoyed this channel, or this video rather, more specifically. I've been Gitbag the Great. Bottoms up, and I'll see you guys next time.